Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this conversation for Pardi di Domani with three directors.
I'm Ratchapoom, Boonbunchachoke. I'm a director of Adinsi Dag or Red Adinsi or Tiptoeing on the Still Traveling Berlin Wall.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Sora. I'm the director of The Chicken.
Hi, my name is Phạm Ngọc, I'm the director of The Unseen River, dòng sông không nhìn thấy.
Okay. So perhaps we can start by the beginning. I believe very much in beginnings of films. And I was struck by the three of you, the beginnings of your films, because I believe that when you're when you sit in a theater and you start watching a film, I like the feeling that the film gets to you or gets into you, and in the three films, I thought that happened, and they have quite strong beginnings. And so let's perhaps talk a little bit about each of the beginnings. Yours, Ratchapoom. So you start. It's a very intriguing shot with two cats talking.
Yeah.
And then there's like before the title, there's a few shots that introduce you to this ambience of a spy movie, kind of spy movie. And so you're immediately drawn into some kind of mystery that it will develop. But perhaps you could because from the start I think you've always worked with dubbed voices in the whole of the film. I'm not sure about that, but so the film is for me is as if it's being told by these two cats that strangely talk about a Chinese sign that's in the first shot, right? I was intrigued by that. Perhaps we could start by that. How you develop this idea of making kind of like a genre film of the spy that then it evolves to something else, I think. But also because you say it's an homage to old Thai films. So could you develop a little bit more how you the desire, because I think for audiences it's important what is the desire to make each film. At least for me it is important. I would like to know what drew you to tell this story and to imagine these characters. Could you develop a little bit on that?
First, about the dubbing voice is like it's idea that's it's like within me for a few years, but I never eventually put it into film. But it's like in the Thai cinema, like after the World War, majority of film produced after the World War were dubbed at that time, like for two main reasons. The first one is like the technical reasons, like because like after the World War, like the cost for record sound on film is very expensive by that time. So people tend to dub the voice in the post-production. And also like dealing like in the 50s and 60s, it's like the golden age of Thai cinema. And the actors during that time, like one of the most famous or the most sought after, they were expected to be in the productions, 5 productions per day. Like they have to be shooting in the morning, in the noon, afternoon, evening, and night. So they didn't have time to memorize the line. So they were just like in front of the camera and some assistant like just giving them the line. So they just said, and all we will fix in the post-production. So that's like the main reasons for the dubbing in the Thai cinema dealing like. And it's interesting that this kind of traditions like coincide with the Cold War in Thailand, like because like Thai cinema start to like use sound on film like about early 90s. So it's quite coincide with the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. And And that's one of the and that's the first reasons for the dubbing voice in the Thai cinema. And the second one is like, it's more like an ideological reasons, like the actor, audience kind of expect that the actor need to have the voice that fit with their role. Like if you are a hero, you need to sound heroic. If you are a villain, you need to sound villainous. You need to sound evil. If you are like a sidekick, you need to sound comical. So sometimes the actor could not deliver the voice in the way that people expect them to sound. So they need to be fixed by the voice actor that help them to like embody this idea of hero, evil, villain. So I think that's the two reasons about it. And I kind of like the second reasons that you need to sound heroic, you need to sound evil, but it's not your own voice in a way. And I think my main design is, I think it's more about like Thai political situation in the present time. And I think to put it simply, it's like, even though we live in the 21st century, in Thailand, at least we still live in the Cold War mentality. And that's my main idea of it, yeah.
Yes, there's even a moment in the film that the character Jit says, one day we'll no longer use the artificial voice. We will use our own voice like in other countries, not this dubbed voice from old films.
Yeah.
So I think your film really it struck me really as a political film about what is happening, not just like in general politically in Thailand nowadays, but also because you also ask these questions of gender. And so your character is a ladyboy in the beginning, but then he plays like a man. But I think you used it cleverly, the way that in the end, when they use their own voice somehow, and there's even this voice therapy, and the film changes because even the mise en scène of the film changes to something more documentary. And I noticed that you had two DOPs, two directors of photography. And I also wanted to ask you a little bit about this change of style throughout the film, that it starts as a very artificial, artificial in all sense, the way of people act, the framing, the voice, because it gives an artificiality to every character has several voices, even the main, like the detective, the ladyboy has his mainly voice, his female more feminine voice, and then his real voice, or how important, how do you think it's also to make a political film at this time in Thailand, and with questioning gender and queer people, and how is it important for you? Because I researched a little bit about your previous films, and you're always in the and I couldn't find them, but I read some things about them, and there's always these you're worried with these questions. There's always this questioning of political question, gender, and how is it important to have these issues in a film in Thailand today?
I think Thailand today is in like a very confusing time, but I don't want to get it too much, but it's quite confusing and tumultuous, and that we need to capture it, and we need to speak out about it. And about the queer aspect is, I think like I felt like normally when there's a queer film or LGBT film is when there's a queer cinema, it's mostly about like identity politics, like it's about the liberations of oppressed queer sexual minority character. But I want to push it to the other way, like could queer do politics, like political issue. Like they're not just like the oppressed character that need to be liberated or need to be rescued or talk. I think the main thing is like I don't want queer character to do only queer issue. They should be in like a do all the political stuff like anti-authoritarian or something like that. If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
perhaps let's go on into Neo, because so that because I think the idea is that we can all interact. You can, if you want, you can interact with each other, and I think if you arrive to that, it would be nice too. But also in your film Neo, the chicken, it starts with 4 shots. There's a shot of a fan where it's written over the shot. It says that it's a day, November 3rd, right?
Yes, an afternoon in November.
An afternoon in November 3rd. And then there's and you listen to a mosquito. And then there's these hands that try to kill the mosquito. And then there's more larger shot of a guy that is trying to get the mosquito. And then there's a closer shot and he finally kills the mosquito and there's blood. And then from that blood, there's the title of the film.
Yes.
And then the film, stylishly, it's a little bit different, the rest of the film. From that, I like the idea that it starts a little bit as abstract, formally, the way you shot and you frame, and then and you introduce somehow. Already, you introduce the title of the short story that you're based in. It's a Japanese author called
Naoya Shiga.
You say it better than me. But you also have this introduce this idea of fluids, because there's always fluids in the film. There's blood, and then you more or less mimic over the title this the way it's even a little bit gross. The way the mosquito is smashed against the wall, the window.
Yes.
And I would like you to first, why did you choose this author and this short story? I researched a little bit also about it, and mostly it's in English. It's the title. I found it more like an incident on the afternoon of November 3rd. And you call it an afternoon on November 3rd. Because I think this difference for me was revealing, because there's several incidents. I don't know the story. I tried to find it online, but I couldn't find it. So I don't know. But could you talk a little bit how you... First, like the beginning of the film and the stylish part of the film, then it turns more into a film where you see characters and there's more reverse shot, even if it's not always like that. And also about the novel, not the novel, the short story you've based your film in.
Yeah, maybe I can start off actually with the short story that I based it on. It's called, as you said, An Incident on November 3rd. An Incident on an Afternoon in November 3rd by Naoya Shiga, who's he's maybe one of the more famous Japanese authors that you would learn in school. But he has a very realist style, lived in the late 19th, early 20th century. And I came across this story, which is about the protagonist, who is usually the author himself, Naoya Shiga, going on a walk with his cousin to buy a duck. And on the way to buy the duck, he sees a military exercise. However, it's a really hot day, even though it's in November. and all the soldiers are wearing kind of winter outfits. So they're all very hot and sweaty, and he sees a handful of young soldiers collapse with heat stroke. And in doing so, kind of notices how violent this act of the military exercise is, and in the end feels bad. He just simply writes it. He felt bad about killing the duck, and he in the end gives the duck away, and that's the extent of the short story. But there was something about all the different elements that were in the short story that I felt really resonated with me, because it seemed as if he was kind of talking about these very structural and violent issues at the time. And the significance of November 3rd is actually pretty interesting. And in Japan, it's basically a holiday called Culture Day. But originally it was based off of the birthday of the emperor, the Meiji emperor. And so you can kind of read into the date. Anybody reading the short story would know that the date was, the emperor's birthday, and that's perhaps the reason why they were doing this military exercise that he witnesses. And this was written in 1919, and so it's right after the end of the First World War, and it's in fact maybe the same year as the Siberian intervention. And so you can kind of assume that maybe the exercise that they were doing was because of that, because they were preparing the soldiers to send to Siberia. And so I saw a lot of parallels between. Yeah, go ahead.
So that's why they talk about, because it's totally not connected with that, but they talk about Siberia in the beginning. Also, you listen to there's this voice of, it's not a voiceover, but you feel someone's talking, a couple talking about going eventually to Siberia because it's too hot to farm.
Yes, and basically, I was kind of perceiving the parallels between his story and a lot of the structural violence that was happening, in my daily life as well. I usually live in New York, and obviously the situation has changed a little bit in that, like, there are a lot of people very fighting in a very visible way against police brutality every single day now in America. But before this kind of era of protests, Black Lives Matter protests in America, certain kinds of structural violence are a little bit more sort of subdued, or you don't necessarily see them every single day. They appear in the form of gentrification or deportations or police presence, ambient police presence. And so those kinds of violences were a little bit more not invisible, but subdued in daily life, I thought. And so it provided a really good opportunity for me to think through the kind of different scales of violence that exists sort of in our daily life, from environmental sort of catastrophe or global warming, all the way down to like the killing of a chicken or killing of a mosquito even. And so in the beginning of the film, those were the kinds of themes that I was trying to set up and establish before going into the rest of the film, which mostly takes place from the perspective of the cousin, who is introduced right after the title.
And so you more or less, you said there was a military exercise, and because here what they see outside is a man on the floor that you really don't understand what's happened to him.
Yeah.
And they go and help them, the two characters, the cousin and I don't know, the guy,
the protagonist.
and you see him, the man peeing, and could you develop more also like the connections that you, through like this idea of fluids that
Sure.
because then there's the woman that is going to give birth. She's going to give birth, and I don't know how to say that in English, when the waters break.
Water breaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea of the body fluid was just a visual motif that I found connected all the incidents, I suppose. That also partially came from the book, the short story. There's a amazing sort of observation in the short story where the one of the soldiers who are who's having a heat stroke is given some water, and the way in which the water was given was very ritualistic. And so I wanted to have these moments where the characters sort of see basically like water and fluid, and how that sort of representative of the kind of human body sort of like expelling something, and in those moments are moments of violence, or the opposite in terms of rebirth. But then in the moment at the end where you see the water breaking and the blood of the chicken getting mixed into it, I was sort of thinking about, I wanted to pose the question of whether or not birthing a child in a situation like this, birthing a child in a world in which clearly the environment is collapsing, is that violence as well? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, of course, but those are sort of the questions that were circulating in my head at the time. And specifically to the man, actually, that's sort of the place that I filmed that in is in Chinatown in New York City. And, like in any neighborhood in New York City, gentrification is a very serious issue. There are a lot of people, Chinese people, who have been experiencing it and haven't been able to deal with the rising rent prices and things like that. And the protagonist, as a person who's moving into this new apartment that perhaps a Chinese person used to live in, perhaps he's complicit in that kind of structural violence of gentrification as well. And that is sort of the intersection that I wanted to show in that moment.
So you mean the one that he's himself criticizing?
Yes.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
And what about also like perhaps we can go on and go to Lan, because and then we can come back. So your film, The Unseen River, it starts also, there's first a shot of the river, like a dark shot of the river. Then there's this couple in a motorcycle on a boat. And when I first saw the film, like I saw it a couple of times, and I thought they were riding a bicycle. And I think this idea of something that is still, but it's moving at the same time, it's really important in your film. Something that is stuck, also like a kind of, there is the dam, which is also an important dam that contains the water of the river. And then from there, you listen to these bells. You see the Buddha by the river, and then you cut to the woman that she's eating something out of her hands. I don't know very well what that is. And you still listen to the bell, the temple bell, I guess. And then she looks, and there's this pan shot. And she looks to her left, and there's this wind coming, and then you cut back to the woman for a closer shot, and then there's the sound of the dog, and then you cut to the dog with the tongue, and it's kind of like almost obscene that the dog with the pink tongue. And just and then you continue to and then the film goes on. I would like for you, how did you connect this? Because in your film there's this two couples somehow, the young couple and the older couple, that I felt that they could be a little bit the same. I don't know if you had this idea or not, but because for me, you could imagine that what happened, because they are they talk about getting married or not getting married. They don't know what's going to happen. And they don't want to know, perhaps. But then there's the story of the older couple, that they were together, they separated, and then they meet again by this river. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
Tức là cái phim Dòng sông không nhìn thấy thì ban đầu thì là ở cái phần mở đầu thì mình định là sẽ là kể một cái
originally the film was meant to be more linear when during the production period, but during the production process there were problems arise that forced me to go into the movie in a more fragmentary approach.
Nhưng mà tuy vậy thì là mình vẫn muốn giữ được một vài những cái ý chính, thì đúng như của João nói là cái việc là cái góc nhìn, tức là cái người mà, tức là cái phim, những cái người ở trên phim thì họ nhìn thấy, tức là họ.
And the idea that you mentioned about people standing still but still moving to the current of the river, that is one of the main theme that I wanted to emphasize, because the river is supposed to be, is the title, is supposed to be the main character in the movie, but we never really see the river that much. It's just the people reacting and living to the flow of the river.
Thì ở trong cái tức là ở hai cái tuyến này thì là thật ra, bởi vì là khi mà ban đầu làm thì mình cũng định là xây hai cái tuyến mà nó khá cân đối với nhau, và dựa trên cái quan sát bình thường thôi, thì là bởi vì những cái người già thì thường họ hay nói những cái chuyện về quá khứ, còn người trẻ thì cứ hay nói về chuyện tương lai. Còn cái dòng sông thì bởi vì bình thường ở trong cái
the two storylines were meant to be complementary to each other. So the old couple talked about the past, and the younger couple talks about the future.
Thì tức là ở như các cái bình thường mà mọi người thường thấy thì là tức ở ngoài đời thì thường
the parallel storylines kind of was complemented by the flow of the river, which is usually a metaphor for time flowing.
Ẩn dụ mà so sánh của cái
so either it's flowing towards the past or the future.
What about, so you never thought about these characters the way I saw it, as if they would be like the young couple, they would be like the old couple, they resonate in the way that they could be the same somehow? No, it doesn't make sense to you.
Có, tức là ở trong cái phim thì em vẫn muốn để cái
that was on purpose. The vagueness of the storyline wasn't meant to solidify concrete ideas or conclusions, but to leave it to the audience and the viewers.
Just going back to what you said, that the two parallel storylines were not from the start. So the idea of cross-cutting between the stories, it's something that came out from the editing, or what do you mean more like that? So it was more one storyline and then another storyline?
Không, tức là ở trong kịch bản thì
the storylines in the script kind of intercept with each other, like in the way it was played out in the movie, but only it was more story driven and not as fragmented as was what you see.
So perhaps we could go back to Ratchapoom and then we'll do it again. So I'm not a specialist in these things either. So but you, what is your idea? I really like the idea of the cats talking in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you didn't really talk, because it was not clear for me if the cats have the same voice as the characters. Is it the same, exactly the same voice, or because in the credits in the end, there's no cat voice. So
I forgot that. Yeah,
I was wondering who are they? If they somehow you're already introducing the characters through the cats.
Yeah, when you mentioned it, I totally forgot about it, because actually, like, I think all the characters were dubbed by four voice actors, all of them, and they try to improvise with each one. Like this, the cat will use this voice, the villagers will use this voice, the main character will use another voice, but all the characters were dubbed by these four actors. But the cat is like, actually, my idea is like, I want to open the film like kind of like spy film. They always open with like in the middle of the mission, right? Like James Bond or the Bond Identity. Like the hero is in the middle of something. They carry some mission, and then, but then suddenly like, but if I open with this mission of the main character follow this woman with the yellow bag, it's like luggage. It's like the like a first film of the film will be totally silent, and I feel like it somehow like it didn't introduce the audience into the world of dub voice. So I need some character to talk, and I think the cat is a perfect character to talk because because they're not the main character, and they're like, and in this world the cat talks, and I think like so people are well prepared of what to expect in the world that cat could talk. So I like the idea of cat talking as a way of introducing audience to the film. Yeah.
Because there's also this idea of comedy in the film, right?
Yeah,
it's a parody.
Yeah.
It's a spy movie, but it's a parody. She's like going after, or the main character is going after the woman in a very she's very close. They are very close. They would have noticed themselves, I guess.
Yeah. It's more like a gesture. Yeah.
And also, like, then there's these three shots when she takes out the ladyboy. She takes out the gun, and there are these three shots, and there's these three red screens. I don't know how to say this. And it reminded me of I don't know, Godard. I don't know if it comes from there, but
actually, I think it's more. There's an old Thai film in the 70s. It's called Three Shots. It's very silly, like, because in the 70s there's a lot of anti-communist Thai films, a lot of them, about the spy, about the undercover police who goes to the rural village to find the communist terrorists or something like that. And there's one particular film that's called Three Shots. Like, the story is like, at the end, the main character shoot 3 shots at his son, because his own son is a terrorist. And like 3 shots is for like, because the color of the Thai flag is the 3 colors, red, white, and blue, which is nation, religion, and the monarchy. So that's a 3 shot. Yeah.
I have actually, can I ask a question? No, at first in the beginning, the way it's filmed and the costumes and things like this, I thought that it was kind of a period piece, or it was about the past. But then there's the dating app that comes in, which then places it in the present. But then but then there's a lot of things in the film that kind of suggests that maybe there are a lot of historical suggestions. Yeah. I was wondering if you can kind of talk about that a little bit, maybe.
I think because, like, actually even nowadays, like, a lot of Thai ruling class still stuck in the Cold War mentality. So sometimes if there's a protest or demonstration from the people from the country or student movement, sometimes they blame communist terrorism still. So the police, the military sometimes stuck with this kind of thing. Like it's easier to blame the communists. I don't know why. Yeah, and this kind of like, how to say, anachronism, like kind of, yeah, the like wrong things in the wrong time still going on. So I kind of like that detail that
Right.
the time doesn't align with itself. It's not present yet in here in Thailand. Yeah, it's not totally updated. It's not in the same time with the rest of the world. Yeah.
And there was oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please continue.
Oh, well, there was the post in the Jit's room.
Yeah.
In the background of between the two characters, there's the poster of the four.
The poster.
faces.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize who that was, but
neither did I.
He's a Thai politician. He's Dr. Bunsanoong. He was assassinated in the 70s. He was like a secretary of Thai Socialist Party, which was now disbanded. It didn't exist anymore. He was the secretary of the Thai Socialist Party. He was shot in his car. I'm not sure on his way home or from his home to his office, but he was shot in the middle of the street, and no one could arrest anyone. Yeah, so yeah, I think there's a lot of things, this kind of killing, abduction, kidnapping of the activists and politicians, dissident politicians or dissident activists in the 60s, 70s is quite a forgotten part of the history, and it's still like happening now actually in the country as well. Yeah. So to put his and he's not well remembered actually in the present time, but I think like to put things randomly in my film is one way to have people talk about him or about the issue generally, I think. Yeah.
So going back to the communists, as you said, like the film is called Red Aninsri, right?
Aninsri, yeah.
So red comes from communists, is it?
Yeah.
And the rest is the name, because I was a little bit confused with what's the meaning exactly of this.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit difficult for foreigner, I think, because I play with word, which is quite, because actually in the 70s there's like a Thai Batman called Red Eagle.
Okay. She's called Eagle too. Okay.
Eagle, because
code name.
Yeah, it's a code name, Red Eagle, and I play with that word. Like eagle in Thai is insi. Okay. Insi has there's two different words that's pronounced the same but spelled differently. The first insi is the eagle, and the other meaning is the organic, like the material, the organic. And the antonym of the organic is inorganic, which is aninsi.
Okay.
So it's difficult. So this is my way to say that this is not the Red Eagle. This is not the Thai hero during the communist time. Something like that. It's another way to play with words. I think it's quite difficult for foreigners to comprehend it. But yeah, but for me, Red Aninse is like, if you put it to translate it literally, it could be like the red in organic, the red in material, which could mean the nation, because red in Thai could also mean the nation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite messy. Yeah.
And so the way as you also, the film reminded me a little bit of Ratchapoom's film called The Adventures of Iron Pussy.
It's quite not well known for people.
Yes, but with that kind of parody of Thai old cinema and genre and I liked the idea that it was, you're not taking yourself very seriously, even if you're tackling with serious questions.
Issue. Yeah.
And even if the spy, or she's on the wrong side of she's on the bad guy's side, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, queerness is very normal to them in a strange way, which I think it's contradictory. Right. Because it's very clear when they say, like the app, you've been exchanging messages with Jeet, and you're the type of gay guy that he likes. So it's very, at the same time, they are, I imagine, conservative people, but at the same time, they are very up to anything to get this Miss. What is she called? Miss. They are going after her.
Miss
Josh.
Miss Josh. Right.
I think in Thai context, like conservative could accommodate queer people. There's a lot of Thai ruling class that actually could be identified LGBT, but they're still very conservative. So like, so even though they are queer people, queer person, but if they are people in power, they doesn't use their powers for the betterment of the people. They're just like happy with themselves being queer, and like it doesn't mean that being queer equal liberal automatically in this context.
It happens everywhere. That also. Okay.
So they could, as you say.
Also, why does this, when this Miss Josh she calls, there's always the La Marseillaise,
it's I'm not sure, it's quite sensitive, but I'm not sure if it could be put online here. Maybe I'm happy to answer that, but I'm not sure, because there's a joke in Thai, like protest demonstrations culture here. Like we are kind of very silly. Like we use humor to protest sometimes. And there's one incident that one student protest by playing La Marseillaise, the song, because it's quite risky. Maybe you could cut it.
Okay, so let's not go into that. I don't want to get you into trouble. Okay. So okay, you want to finish, or let's go on to Neo?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Actually, could I have a question? Could I ask Lan something? So we talked about kind of using jokes and puns in your title, Ratchapoom, but I feel like there were some puns or jokes that were in your movie, Lan, that I missed because I don't understand the language. But I don't know, I might be wrong. Because, actually we know each other from a workshop we did a while ago in 2017. And in that project that you presented, there was a lot of kind of inside jokes or like puns, or like the fact that the woman sort of looks like the dog or the woman looks like the animal in your feature film that you were pitching. Were there any jokes that we may have missed because we don't understand Vietnamese?
No, actually, there's almost no joke. Because actually, this short film, it is one part of the omnibus that about the Mekong River in Southeast Asia. So yeah. So.
I know you're a funny guy, though. I know you have a sense of humor, so I just wanted to make sure.
But perhaps we could, I could ask you something. Because there's something strangely weird and a little bit lascivious with the dog, when the tongue of the dog, and in that beginning of the sound of the panting. You say panting. I don't know how to say that in English. Panting. Yeah, panting of the dog over the woman's face, the main character's face, and it's clear that you had I don't know, an erotical idea there, seems to me. Kind of obscenity, no?
Actually, with that then tức là ở cái đoạn đấy thì là
The
thật ra
part about the dog painting and the tongue sticking out was not meant to be erotic. During my job as a director, it was just used to as a reminder, because in the latest part there is a reminiscence scene, and so that part kind of is played again.
It's played again, but not that specific shot. It's
yes,
just the woman. It's just the woman up the dam. There's this movement, this zoom pan movement and zoom, and it gets to the dog, and then there's the man. So there's not the shot of the dog with like the close up of the dog that is very with the tongue sticking out of the which I found. So perhaps it's my own way of seeing that I see eroticism everywhere. It's
yes,
my fault.
Actually, my idea is like I need to have something really remarkable for that part. Then people can really remember the scenes of the next scenes. Then when the next scenes repeat again, then it become easier. So it's just like the technical things. It's not
okay. Yes, but you did the way you also transformed a little bit the picture. You did like some kind of filter. I don't know what you did to the picture, but it's a little bit different. So I don't know. For me, it was clear, but perhaps okay. And can you talk a little bit? So the origin of the film, it's a commissioned film, right? For the Luang Prabang Film Festival, right?
Yes.
Could you talk? So, and is it shot in the Vietnamese part of the Mekong River, or where is it shot? I don't know.
Yes, actually, so right now the film is one of 5 short films in the omnibus of Mekong 2030. So my tức là sorry, I switch to Vietnamese.
Okay.
Tức là cái phim này thì là ở của một trong 5 cái phim ở chùm phim Mekong, thì bởi vì là sở dĩ là cái liên hoan phim Mekong, liên hoan phim Luang Prabang họ muốn làm một cái phim về Mekong, bởi vì là sông Mekong ở Đông Nam Á thì đang gặp nguy hiểm rất là lớn. Thì Hoàng cứ dịch cái đấy chưa?
This is just a part of 5 short films from the omnibus from the film festival about the Mekong River, because the theme of the Mekong was chosen because it's kind of in a dire state right now, and it has a very lasting and tremendous effect on Southeast Asian countries.
Thì bởi vì là ban đầu thì họ muốn làm một cái phim là sông Mekong ở năm 2030, nhưng mà bởi vì bởi vì cái tiền tôi thấy là nó không đủ để làm một cái phim như vậy, phim trong tương lai, cho nên là cái ý tưởng lúc mà khi mà viết ra thì lại bẻ đi một ít để nó vừa là có thể là tức là cái thời gian thì không quan trọng lắm, và cái tức là sau hết nữa thì là cái phim thì không chỉ là mỗi là nói về sông Mekong mà nó có thể là ở bất kỳ cái sông nào.
So originally they wanted me to do a project about Mekong River in 2030, but the funds were not enough. So I kind of have to make adjustments and set the movie in a unspecific point in time that could be the near future or the present. And even the Mekong River is not the main focus, and I just want it to be about other rivers, not just rivers in water.
Okay, but is it shot in the Vietnamese part of the Mekong? Okay.
It's shot both in Mekong and in another rivers.
Okay.
Two rivers.
And can you talk a little bit about the actors? So the couple is also, they are singing the song in the end, right? So why are they a couple of, it's like a musical band? Or how did you choose the actors, the couple, and then talk a little bit more about the older couple? If they are also, I imagine the first are non-professional actors or not, I don't know.
Tức là hai cái diễn viên lớn tuổi thì là họ là diễn viên điện ảnh và cũng khá nổi tiếng rồi. Thì cái cô Minh Châu là cô diễn viên nữ mà cao tuổi thì là được danh hiệu là nghệ sĩ nhân dân, là một trong những cái danh hiệu cao nhất của nghệ sĩ ở Việt Nam. Còn hai bạn trẻ thì là thật ra là hai bạn đấy là đang là hai cái người mà nổi tiếng ở trên mạng ở hiện tại, mà cũng có đóng một vài phim nhưng mà không chuyên nghiệp lắm, và hai bạn đấy thì bây giờ đang định hướng là muốn chuyển sang làm ca sĩ.
The older couple were played by popular actors and actresses in Vietnam. They're not too famous, but they're quite popular and well known. And the actress Mi Châu is actually got awarded the People's Artist Medal, the award, which is one of the highest medal for artists in Vietnam. And she actually appears in most of my movies. And the younger couple are just more like Instagram famous, and they are both they're actually in a band, and they're actually a couple, and they do acting and singing.
Okay, so you chose them because you knew them from Instagram or from the social media, or also because you liked the song? Because the song also, the lyrics of the song, at least the part that is in English, it kind of resonates with what you've seen. So until then, in the film. So it's a song they composed for the film, or it's a song that already existed.
Hai cái bạn trẻ đấy thì là hai cái bài hát đấy thì bạn viết khá là lâu rồi, và nhưng mà bình thường thì là tôi cũng muốn mời hai bạn này vào những cái dự án phim khác nữa của tôi, cho nên là cũng theo dõi hai bạn từ rất là lâu. Thì cái bài hát kia thì là khi mà làm cái phim này thì cũng thấy hợp, cho nên là mới xin vào trong phim thôi. Còn ngoài cái bài hát mà ở cuối phim mà do hai bạn ấy hát ra, thì ở trong phim thì là những cái đoạn nhạc đấy thì cũng là từ cái nhạc của cái bài hát đấy nhưng mà được phổ lại.
The song in the movie was written by the young couple a long time ago, and I just asked if I could incorporate that into the movie because I think that it fits. And the couple also, I've been watching their career with interest, because I have plans for them to be in my future projects.
Okay.
And also, the song was the main song was also used throughout the movie, with just different instruments.
Yes, it appears throughout the film. Okay, perhaps we could go back to Neo just to talk a little bit more about your film, and then I think we should wrap the discussion. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about the part that played by the woman, because she's the one that she can kill the chicken, and this idea of masculinity and opposed to her what you would imagine that the guys would be the strong guys, and there's also no woman character in the short story, for what I understood. Or there is?
Oh, there is actually, yes.
Oh, there is.
Mm-hmm. There's the protagonist's wife is in the short story. The part that I made up was the ending with the water breaking. But yes, otherwise the character is there. Yeah, I wanted to have I just kind of came up with that ending all of a sudden from out of the blue. And I think in discussing the story with some collaborators, that final shot of the blood mixing in with the fluid sort of came to us as the final shot, because it seemed to represent a lot of the themes of birth and death and all these things, and sort of the ecosystem that were sort of placed inside. So yeah, the pregnancy was in order to show this at the very end. And the fact that she's able to kill the chicken isn't really something I thought about too much. However, yeah, it's for her, she doesn't have any attachment to the animal, and she doesn't have the association between the animal and anything that happened in that day because she doesn't know about it. And so she's able to do it very quickly. And yes, in terms of the character background, we had sort of talked, me and the actress has talked about the background of the character, having lived on maybe a farm as a child and knowing how to do that very easily, understanding completely how to kill a chicken. And so that's sort of, yeah, that's where that came from.
Because it seems to me that now, especially nowadays in the society we live, it's not easy to find someone who would kill a chicken like that, just like that. Especially city dwellers, people who live in the city. They don't. And she's the one who's giving birth, and she's also the one who's killing.
Yeah.
So it's in her. There's also this contradiction, perhaps.
Yeah.
That it's in the end with the fluids mixing. Mm-hmm. It seemed to me.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, it's the other thing that actually I just remembered where this story kind of came from. Well, the other reason why I think she had to know how to kill the chicken really quickly is because there is a little bit of a justification that I needed to make for my short film that the original short story didn't have, which is in the original short story 100 years ago, it was very normal to go and buy a live duck and butcher the live duck. And so, you know, obviously that's a little bit different now. And so part of the reason why I had them discuss going to Siberia and start a farm and his sort of dream of wanting to raise chickens and all these things was so that he can be justified to go buy a live chicken. And in the same, yeah.
Yes, but if you think about it, like, I don't know, I think I read something about these like children in America who don't even know how a chicken looks like before being killed. They just know chicken breasts or chicken legs. Yeah. They don't know what the animal looks like. And it's something that in Asia you still have a connection with the live animals. In markets in Asia, for instance, you buy live animals and people kill them to you in front of you. It's very normal.
Yeah, in Japan, actually, it's maybe not the case too much.
Yeah, in Japan, yes, perhaps not.
Yeah, I've heard stories about how children sort of think that sashimi sort of swims in the sea and stuff like that. And so I feel like that's a problem. Maybe it's a rural-urban kind of divide more than in a regional one like that. But I think, yeah, in terms of her character, she is a character who spent sort of her summers going to her aunt's farm in America and things like this. So she kind of knows how to do that already.
Okay. Thank you. I think we should wrap this conversation up. Thank you all it was a nice conversation. I wish you all good luck. Thank you, Ratchapoom. Thank you, Neo. Thank you, Lan. Thank you, Huang, for the translation. And best of luck for the competition. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.